Cadets, welcome. Today is the third of 3 lectures about species that are new to the galactic community. These are species you are likely to encounter at some point in your careers, but who are not yet part of the Galactic Senate. Today's lesson is about a species that refers to itself as humans. They come from an average world orbiting a singular yellow star at the edge of the galaxy. Over the next 3 hours, we will delve into the basics of their world and the technical requirements for their survival. We will cover everything known about them comprehensively. 2 hours and 45 minutes later. Now that we have covered the most pertinent background information, let's take a closer look at many examples of humans. Note that they are an unobtrusive size, similar to the median of species that are members of the Senate. Unlike most of the primate archetype species in the Senate, humans have only 2 upper limbs for manipulating and controlling objects and 2 limbs specifically used for locomotion. While some individuals can use their locomotive limb ends to pick things up, this ability is not universal among their species and is often referred to by them as a stupid party trick. We have yet to decipher the exact meaning of this idiom, but it is clear that humans consider having 2 limbs dedicated to locomotion and 2 dedicated to manipulation as perfectly normal. Humans have no tails. We are unsure how they counterbalance themselves when working in precarious locations without a tail, but they seem to manage perfectly fine. Instead of claws, they have flat, mostly dull armor slabs at the end of their fingers. Their vision is worse than that of the majority of species among us, and their hearing is limited, leaving many high frequencies completely inaudible to them. For example, they are simply unequipped to hear any sounds made by the Fing species without a translator unit. So, if they seem like they are ignoring you, it might be that they are literally incapable of hearing the sounds you are making. Humans are not particularly strong for their size, nor are they particularly durable. Their median intellect is only 2% higher than the median of all Senate races, so they are not particularly special in that regard either. Overall, humans seem to be an inert and non-threatening prospective member of the Senate, on par with the average among us. However, we have made one very important observation that all of you must take away from this presentation. Your very lives depend on it. It is a universal truth among all ecosystems we have encountered that bright coloring is either an attractor indicating that being consumed is part of the subject's life cycle or a dire warning saying, "Don't eat me. I am poisonous and will kill you." Only on one world have we ever encountered both to exist side by side, sometimes among the same species. That world is Earth, the home planet of the humans. As far as we can tell, their diet includes everything. I have personally seen them consume shellfish taken from their seas and boiled until the bright red warning color was clearly evident. I have seen them consume berries marked with the scarlet death warning. They have an entire genre of food that requires the mashed pulp and juices from a fruit from their deadly nightshade family of foods. Yes, you heard that correctly, and that's their term for it. I've seen them take highly acidic fruit and make a refreshing drink from it. I've seen them crush acidic fruits into a glass to consume with their breakfast. The vast majority of them willfully consume ethanol for recreation in their downtime. I've even witnessed humans lighting their drinks on fire before consuming them, which should have prepared me, though it did not, for the reality that they also use capsaicin as a flavoring. They even have a rating system for how intense the capsaicin is. The most mild of their peppers starts at 0, and the fumes from one of those made me uncomfortable. Some of their peppers have a rating of over 1 million, and humans eat these. There is a type of fish on their world that can kill even a human in a few seconds, and they have highly trained chefs who prepare that very fish for the rich as a show of wealth. So, cadets, I must warn you, do not eat anything from the human world. Nothing. Just don't. The likelihood is high that they have used something extremely toxic as a flavoring agent. If you ask them for the ingredients, they will tell you. However, they might consider some seasoning so harmless that they forget to mention it, or there might be traces of it on their hands, utensils, or elsewhere in their kitchen. This could result in a fatal mistake for you. It is best to decline politely and tell them you're not adventurous enough to try foods from their home world. Instead, offer them something from your own world. I know some of you may be skeptical, so I urge you to look through the archives for examples of human cuisine. Read the analysis of the contents. We even have videos of them participating in many food-related rituals. You can witness them eating various things like hot wings and taking on the cinnamon challenge. The consumption of ethanol is so common that it's nearly impossible to see any human media without it. You are dismissed. Gregor was unfazed, having been in custody many times before and knowing how to remain silent. He understood that they had no concrete evidence against him and that only a confession could keep him detained. Gregor wouldn't give them the confession. "There's nothing you can do to make me talk," were Gregor's last words to the interrogator as the interrogator left the interview chamber. "We know he did it, but we can't prove it. We need a confession from him," the primary interrogator said, stating the obvious as part of their problem-solving technique. "Have you tried everything?" The human, a newcomer to the station, chimed in. "Yes, everything," one of the interrogators replied. "How long has it been since that dog ate?" the human asked. Both interrogators turned to look at the human. "Dog," one replied. "Yeah, he looks like he's from a Canada-evolved species, right?" "Dogs," the human clarified. "Ah, yes, well, that he is. So he has an excellent sense of smell, right?" "Yes." "How is that relevant?" "So, when was the last time he ate?" "He was given his meal this morning and is now overdue by an hour. We dare not withhold food any longer." "Why?" "Because I'm hungry too. I'm about to have my meal. I bet if you let me eat in there, I can scare him into talking." "Young human, are you suggesting that merely eating in front of the hungry prisoner will make him talk?" "Yep, sure am. What's the worst that can happen?" The two interrogators exchanged glances and then looked back at the human. "Very well, go ahead." The human disappeared for about 20 minutes before returning with a small bag. He entered the interview room and sat down at the table. "Howdy, Greg. Mind if I call you Greg?" "That is not my name." "I would prefer." "Yeah, whatever, Greg. See, I'm new here. I don't know anything about you, and I don't care to. I don't know anything about this station, and I don't know anything about being a space cop. I'm a soldier. Every human out here in space is either a soldier, a politician, or a science geek. Believe me, I ain't got the brains to be a science geek, and no one has any use for politicians." Gregor chuckled slightly at the comment about politicians, but felt a quiet fear tickle the back of his mind. He recalled something about humans from a cautionary tale, something about their food, but couldn't fully grasp the memory. "I'm not very good at this law enforcement stuff, but this was the post offered as part of the exchange program, so here I am." Gregor nodded in acknowledgement. "Great. You're probably wondering why they sent me in here." "I am." "Well, it's because I wanted to come in." Gregor stared at the human. "You've got their feathers all ruffled, and I thought, gee, that guy looks a lot like a soldier. Maybe I can connect with him." "Unlikely. I know my situation. I know my rights." "Yeah, they figured you'd say that. I also wanted to come in here because it's time for dinner, and you have a nice table right here. Mind if I eat, Greg?" Gregor's eyes widened slightly, but quickly recovered. "Go ahead. Did you bring food for me too? I have been deprived of sustenance beyond the acceptable window of time." "Yeah, sure, if you want some. What have you brought?" "Well, to start off, I have myself a couple of cold beers." The human placed one can on the table, its condensation beating over the surface. Gregor's eyes widened momentarily in shock. The human was going to consume something cold enough to pull moisture from the air. The human then used his fingers to rip a hole in the top of the can. The unsavory stench of ethanol wafted across the room as the human raised the can to his mouth and drank the entire contents in one long swallow, before placing the empty can on the table right in front of Gregor, the ethanol fumes overpowering the other scents wafting from the can. Nothing quite beats a cold beer at the end of a long day. "Next, I've got one of my favorite dishes, wings." The human pulled out a heater box and unfolded the outer layer to reveal a pile of wings. "These items here are chicken wings. Chicken is a small domesticated bird. In my home world, their wings don't have a lot of meat on them, but they are certainly delicious. Do you want one?" Gregor sniffed at the wings, unable to detect anything amiss, so he hesitantly accepted one from the open container and picked the meat off it as the human ate one too. "Tasty, right? But they're not complete yet. These wings need some flavor," the human said. He took out a sealed bowl and put it on the table. "This here is my special sauce. These wings need to go into the sauce and get shaken all around to get properly coated. Then they're ready to eat. The human opened the bowl and dumped the wings inside. Grek Gore recoiled in horror as the toxic fumes erupted from the bowl and forced their way into his nostrils, making his face feel as though it had been set ablaze from the inside out. Tears poured freely from his eyes, wetting the fur on either side of his nose. What is the meaning of this attack? Grek Gore screamed. Whoa there, Grek. This ain't no attack. I'm just having my dinner, the human said calmly while shaking the bowl. You lie. Grek Gore hissed back. That is not a food product, that is a weapon. An illegal weapon. Nope, sorry pal, this is my dinner. The human removed the top of the bowl, unleashing a wave of fumes. Grek Gore stood up, sending his chair careening across the floor as he retreated to the farthest corner of the room. The human took a wing from the bowl and calmly ate it, followed by another and another. This is impossible, Grek Gore hissed. Nope, sorry pal. Quite possible and tasty. You sure you don't want to try one now that they're all finished? I'm not even one for real hot wings, so these here are just mild flavored. The human ripped open the top of a second can of beer and took a sip before continuing to eat the wings. Hey man, this is the last one. Yours if you want it. I'll not let you poison me, Grek Gore replied. Okay pal, suit yourself. The human ate the final wing and downed the rest of the beer. Say, anything you want to tell me about why you're here? No? Okay, but just so you know, they said I could cook your meals for you if you refuse to talk to me. That's torture. Nope, I won't poison you. I won't waste my ingredients on you. But sometimes this sauce can be sticky. It gets into the crevices on hands and permeates the air of the kitchen. I'm sure a tough guy like you can handle that though. Anyway, I'm off to make your dinner. The human left. Grek Gore stood in the corner, eyes watering, and contemplated his predicament. I'll talk, he shouted.
Interrogator. Come iniar?
I'll talk. Just don't let the human prepare my food.